The old Blackwood mansion loomed above the cliffs, a monument of forgotten grandeur. Gargoyles perched on its gables, their stone faces eroded by time and sea wind. Ivy, thick as a man's arm, crawled up the walls, swallowing windows whole. Inside, shadows clung to every corner. Dust lay heavy on the antique furniture, shrouding the mansion in a perpetual twilight. The air hung thick and still, heavy with the scent of dampness and decay. I, Martha, had served the Blackwood family for 20 years, tending to their needs within those somber walls. The children, young Arthur and timid little Emily, were my charges now. Their parents, lost at sea, were just another whisper in the mansion's history. One afternoon, a storm raged outside, mirroring the unease, twisting in my gut. I had sent the children to their rooms, their laughter echoing faintly down the long, empty corridors. The mansion felt different that day, alive. A low murmur of voices drifted from the far end of the hallway. Two figures, shrouded in darkness, stood near the grand staircase. As I approached, squinting through the gloom, the flickering gaslight revealed their silhouettes. Two women, draped in long black dresses that seemed to belong to another era. Their faces were hidden beneath wide-brimmed hats, veiled in a thick netting that obscured their features. They spoke in hushed tones, their words lost in the rustling of the wind outside. My heart pounded in my chest. Who were these strangers? How had they entered the locked mansion? A shiver crawled down my spine, a prickle of unease that I couldn't shake off. "Excuse me," I called out, my voice trembling slightly. "Can I help you?" The figures turned, their veiled faces tilting towards me. For a moment I imagined I saw a flicker of surprise in their eyes, but it was gone as quickly as it had appeared. They said nothing. One of the women reached out a gloved hand and gently touched the dusty surface of a nearby table. When she withdrew her hand, a single word was etched in the grime: "Beware." Then, before I could speak another word, they were gone, vanished into thin air, leaving me alone in the echoing silence of the hallway. A cold dread washed over me. I raced through the mansion, my heart pounding in my ears, searching for the intruders. But every room was empty, every shadow just a trick of the flickering gaslight. The children, sensing my fear, emerged from their rooms, their eyes wide with concern. "Martha, what's wrong?" asked little Emily, her voice barely a whisper. I forced a smile, trying to quell the tremor in my hands. "It's nothing, dear one," I said, my voice catching in my throat. "Just the storm playing tricks on us." But even as I uttered the words, I knew they were a lie. Something was terribly wrong. The air crackled with an unseen energy, a palpable sense of unease that sent shivers down my spine. Later that night, unable to sleep, I found myself drawn to the dusty attic. Cobwebs clung to my face as I pushed open the heavy wooden door, the musty scent of forgotten things filling my nostrils. Amidst the discarded furniture and cobweb-laden trunks, I stumbled upon an old photo album. Its leather cover was cracked and faded, the once bright colors muted with age. With trembling fingers I opened it. The faces that stared back at me were both familiar and strange. There, in the sepia-toned image, stood the former master of the house, his arm wrapped around a beautiful woman with haunting eyes. Beside her stood another woman, her features obscured by a thick veil. The caption beneath the photo read, "Jonathan Blackwood, his beloved wife Eleanor and her sister Constance, 1889. The resemblance was unmistakable. The women in the photograph were the same women I had encountered in the hallway, the same long black dresses, the same veiled hats. But how could it be? Eleanor Blackwood and her sister had been dead for over a century. My blood ran cold. Was it possible that the mansion was haunted by their restless spirits? Had they returned to warn us of some unseen danger? The next morning I told the children about the photograph and my strange encounter. Arthur, ever the skeptic, dismissed it as a figment of my imagination. But Emily, her eyes wide with fear, clung to my hand. "Do you think they'll come back, Martha?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know, dear," I replied, forcing a reassuring smile. "But we have nothing to fear. We are safe here in this house." But even as I spoke, I felt a chill run down my spine. The mansion, once a place of comfort and familiarity, now felt oppressive, filled with unseen eyes and whispered secrets. The days that followed were filled with an unsettling tension. Strange noises echoed through the empty corridors at night. Footsteps on the stairs, the faint murmur of voices, the sound of something heavy being dragged across the attic floor. The children, once full of laughter and mischief, grew quiet and withdrawn. Arthur refused to be left alone, while Emily took to sleeping with a crucifix clutched tightly in her hand. I tried to convince myself that it was all in our minds, a shared delusion brought on by grief and the isolation of the old mansion, but deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that the spirits of Eleanor and Constance Blackwood were still present, their unseen presence lingering like a shroud over our lives. We never saw the women in black again, but their memory lingered, woven into the very fabric of the mansion. The Blackwood mansion remained their domain, a place where the veil between the living and the dead seemed thin and fragile, and I, Martha, keeper of their secrets, was left to wonder about the message they had tried to convey. Was it a warning, a plea for help, or simply a reminder that some houses never truly forget their past? The answer, like the ghosts themselves, remained elusive, lost in the shadows and whispers of that grand, haunted place by the sea.